Okay. So we have started officially the transitions event, and now this is our invocation. This is who we are. We are a team, talented, energetic, astonishing mindsets. We can do anything and everything. We talk, we care, we respect each other. We see beauty in everything. We are connected by hearts and driven by values. We celebrate each other. We provide value to each other. We take ownership in everything we do. We have freedom to make mistakes. We learn as we go. We are mad to make a difference. We love disruptive ideas. We make impossible things possible. We are strong to question the creation. We believe in dreaming big. If we do not dare to dream big, are we really living? Why be ordinary when we can be extraordinary? We should be driven by our goals, not by egos. We can do it, we will do it. Let us not hope for the best, let us be the best. This is who we are.
Awesome. Shri, the slides are up now.
Yes.
Wonderful. All I needed was an invocation and a cup of coffee. Okay. Hey guys, good evening, good morning. I saw Shravan, I saw your message about how excited you were. It reminded me of, I could have danced all night. You remember that? What is that? My Fair Lady.
Okay.
Eh, yeah, the first time she learns to dance, she was so excited. She said, I could have uh, danced all night. I could have spread my wings and said 1,000 things all night. Okay, you sounded like that, Shravan. Believe me, I share that feeling. For a quick recap, uh, for those who attended as also not attended, last time we started what we felt was both a very important conversation and a huge personal obligation we mentors have to all the mentees. We said, look, life is not linear. Life is not, being in this group where everyone is warm and generous and honest and kind and loving. As you go through life, life is a non-linear and a lot of changes happen. Our own roles change, what we do changes. Sometimes amazing things happen, sometimes not so amazing things happen. We said, look, it's very important that we together prepare the mentees whom we so absolutely love with all our hearts, help them prepare, and in the process, we are also learning. Mentees, please remember, every time we're talking to you, we're also learning, we're also getting better. So we said, look, what do we mean by the changes we're talking about? So we got together after the session and summed them up into various things that we need to deal with in life. In fact, us, by virtue of having been born ahead, have gone through some of that, but we continue to go through some of those. So we said after the session, we said, where do we want to go? This is what we said we'll do. Mentor group, we went back and said, look, let's agree on a set of transition themes, some of the huge changes all of us have to necessarily go through in life. And we'll have one session on each of the theme. That will not be a GAN session. You get that in the university anyway. Okay, you don't need any more GAN. We said we'll have this conversation using a real life anecdotes that again is not a hearsay WhatsApp forwards. It is stories us mentors and mentees have to relate. And then each session will also talk about very interactively. So it's very important that we are super interactive on these sessions. And as we do that, we also go back and say, hey, look, are we doing it right? Are the stories right? our methodology, etc. Okay, there is a lot of homework we said we need to take up. And then we came up with the 9 themes. In fact, this morning when we were having a preparatory conversation, we added a 10th one. We said, how do we deal with failure? Failure will happen. Don't for a moment think that all of us have been successful. I've been successful all along. I haven't heard any cricket team that ever played without anybody going out. We will go out. That's part of it. Then we said, how do you deal with conflict in relationship, at work, in society? There will be differences of opinion. There will be things we feel strongly about, others disagree, etc. Dealing with the change and loss of loved ones. How do we stay relevant? We are good today, we're fit today, doing a great job. When things changes, how do we stay relevant? Okay, there's a change in the environment that forces a change in us. Dealing with imperfection and deception. All the people that we meet are not the Thop. We are nice people, right? So they won't be. When that happens, how do you deal with the disappointment of somebody not being who he or she is? Our inner compass. How do we preserve our own integrity and value while we nurture our growth? Dealing with freedom and autonomy. Suddenly we have a lot of freedom, we are earning. So how do we take keep control of our trajectory of ourselves? The working world, organizations, and finally a very incredibly important institution of our lives, marriage, the most important person in your life. And how do we demystify marriage? And how do we understand the most important of our relationships? Okay. And there's one more thing we're going to add to that, and we'll tell you later.
We'll keep it surprise for now.
We get a surprise for now. Okay, there has to be some surprise, right? And we said, look, how do we structure these conversations? We said every Wednesday evening, 7 to 8:30. I'm sorry, I reached only at 6:59. Next time I'll reach at 6:58. 1 minute improvement each week. And week 1 and 3, this is week 1. We actually have a theme. You remember those 9 themes that we picked up? We talk about one of those things and we'll discuss like hell. At week 2 and 4, we call them rumination sessions, because each of these thoughts, when you listen to us, we listen to you, it appears that there is a lot of clarity, but when we go back, a lot of questions arise. What if this happens? It all sounds very nice, but real life is different. When those questions come up, we need an opportunity and forum to come back and talk. So we said, if this week is dealing with failure, next week we'll come back and talk about, hey, listen, we thought over what we discussed there, but a lot of questions, a lot of answers. Can I say something? Can I ask you something? Okay, that we are going to do in a second and fourth. It's like every session has a revision session. Then, of course, invocation that we did, kickoff that I'm trying to do. Then total session is 90 minutes. It's half the time is the presentation and explanation, half the time will be discussion. In fact, if we can increase the discussion time more, it's great, because this is the first time I'm actually taking a little longer to set the context, not so from the next session. The session method will be interactive dialogue. Dialogue is a very powerful word. I did not say conversation. In fact, there is a method called the dialogue smart. Dialogue is meaningful exchange of conversations and ideas with a sense of safety. So that's why I use the word dialogue, using real life anecdotes and stories. Each time, for example, we're dealing with failure, we'll take about 3 or 4 stories. We're actually going to take 4 stories of failures that some of us experience in our real life. And in it, not just success failure stories, we'll also talk success stories. When we talk about marriage, we'll say some amazing marriages, some marriages where there was a little bit of a rough weather. Okay, we'll talk about all those things and deal with all aspects. And the main session anchor for each theme. Sri, thank you. She agreed to be the anchor for this theme. Our desire is that we'll have one mentor anchoring each of these sessions. So you also get to hear different perspectives and not just one voice. And we said, why are
all Ian is saying is we don't want to hear Srividya every week. Same voice is going to get bored. So he wants a change. Go ahead, Ian. No.
R-A-N every time. I might use a different voice. Okay. Okay. So we said, why are we doing these things? Because I think being rational human beings, it ought to have a outcome objective that is meaningful to the mentees. Okay. So we said, look, we'll take each of the themes and talk about it very logically, realistically. We'll not bullshit. We'll talk candidly. We'll talk about the good, bad, and the ugly. We'll talk about the beauty and the beast, all those things. And so that we get a good sense of the theme. It'll be a man-to-man open conversation. Then we'll have open discussions to help each other understand. For example, we talk about something not going right, etc. We'll not get into why me, why did this happen to me. No, we said, look, that happens to everybody. How am I going to deal with that? So to help each other understand, and most important, be ready. I think it's our obligation of the mentors to actually be a little bit of a torchbearers to help you prepare for life as it is. Okay. Again, the good, bad, and ugly. We said we have 3 objectives. So with that background, we'll actually start the first session dealing with failure. And that's what it is today. I finished my kickoff. And then with this, Shri, I hand over the session to you. Shri, you don't need the slides, right? So I'll take the presentation off. If you unmute, we can hear you. We can't by and largely read.
I was trying to talk through my ears for a change.
Okay. Okay.
I think let's keep the slides on for a bit because there are some things you have where it might help me.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Especially this picture, let's keep it on for a bit. And then, I think just this for only this image. Then later, if anything, you can put it back. Otherwise, we'll get into other sharing.
We have that cycle of, Kobar.
When that you can bring it again. Now,
That.
Some of you would have, yes. Namaskar, good evening, good morning, and greetings, and welcome to this session. I'm happy to be part of this and as excited as Shravan and Ian are, or all of you are. I'm also equally excited. You can see me, right? My excitement is very visible. Always, I think you guys bring in so much of energy for me, so I look forward for these kind of sessions. As Ian said, I don't know how much I'm going to share the knowledge, but I'm going to enjoy and learn and take back something. That's for sure. So many of you have seen this image, what Ian has shared in the group, and some of you might not have seen. So even if you have not seen, now see it. Please see it clearly. And let's come. And now you can take the... do you need to have the image for a bit? Otherwise, Ian can stop sharing. And I want all of you to go ahead with whatever your thoughts are. Though you've shared in the group, but I wanted to bring it again here quickly. One word. What comes to your mind? You see that image. Wow, we have 32 of us. Amazing. Yes. Go. Action. Never give up. Interesting. Initiation. Okay, go ahead, please. Trying, just do it. Nike. Madhu is again a new name for me. Go with the flow. Small step. Okay, learn from mistakes, put efforts, never look back. Very interesting. Go on, never give up. Go ahead, guys. Even if it's repeat, it's okay. Whatever comes to your mind comes to your mind. Don't worry if somebody's already said it. Stepping to success. Okay. Very interesting. Don't give up. Keep going. Keep trying. Beginning. Interesting. Anything more? Anything different? Shravan. Try until you reach. Good. Move on. Don't look back. Okay. I think we'll park that thought. Don't look back. I can do it one stop at a time. Always be front at anything you do. Okay, I will do it. Start. Interesting. I just want to park the thought of don't look back for a bit, which is important in the discussion what we are having today in the context. Okay, change. Tharun, what is a change? What do you see change here in this picture? I'd like to know more. Tarun, can you unmute and say that?
Change maker is going to do differently rather than other tips.
Okay.
When
Okay.
all
I hear you. Thank you. What else? What else? And interestingly, though, you have shared this image, but today when you saw the image, what came to your mind?
I was tense.
I was tensed. Okay.
I was looking at the baby. So the baby had at least three ways it can fall, or one way it can move forward. It can topple back, it can topple sideways, it can topple forward, or it can just move forward and get on to the next steps. It's also holding something in its right hand. I said, what is this baby trying to do? So I say, hey, baby, just get to the next step safe, buddy. Fall down, don't want to get up and go. That's what I.
Okay. Shravan, what's for you today in that image?
I think the baby is not realizing how big that step is. Just doing it. So if baby realize it is too big, maybe he won't do it, or she. Is it a boy? Probably, let's say it's a boy.
Doesn't
So-
matter.
So maybe because you're just doing it, you're not seeing how big that step is.
Interesting. I mean, let's keep that in mind, that don't look back. Okay, I think that's something it's important. And don't distract. What you're saying is what you're doing. I think don't look back in a way, and there are two meanings to that, which is important. That is, when we say don't look back, is that saying don't actually step back, or I would always say we should look back, step back sometimes to watch what's happening. I think that saying is normally interpreted very differently. I somehow vaguely remember we had this discussion sometime in one of these forums. I can't remember when was it, but that's what I remember. Looking back is important. And sometimes even stepping back is required. That does not mean it's a failure. So we'll park this thought of saying, how one, the context of failure, what is looking back, what is stepping back. Very, very important aspect. So with this, see, one image, we can see so many things. That's interesting. We will keep all this in mind and take it forward. So now over to Shravan for you to share your story.
Okay. So
Can we what do you call, spotlight him? I'll have to just pin him, right?
that's it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead, Shravan.
Yeah. Let me just go back. Okay. So I know it sounds really small, but I do feel like a failure whenever I don't exercise. And it's like, it irritates me. Like, why am I not exercising? I do get sad, like, oh, already the day has passed and, I didn't exercise. What is the use of money? What am I going to do if I'm not healthy? So all kinds of thoughts go into my, head whenever I don't exercise. So then, then the other thing is, if I don't exercise, how can I tell Sai or Sidhu, hey, you should exercise, so that's another thing. And I seem to lack clarity of thinking because it's so important for me. And since I'm not doing it, my clarity seems to decrease. And then the works which I have planned will not get done. And I seem to become more lazy. So the thing is, if I just instead of going through all of this, if I just go and exercise, just do stretching exercise or do something, I actually start feeling better again. So that is what my thought process are on, failure, or this, on this incident, or on this, does that help, or do you want me to say anything more?
That's fine. Whatever you want to say is fine. I think there's nothing
that's
here
it.
specific.
That-
That's what
that's it.
that is for you. That's the failure. I think
Right.
this is going to when do you want us to kind of discuss the definition of failure? Is it okay if I ask everyone now, what does failure mean to each one of them?
No, I think Shravan just triggered very
Yes.
mischievously, knowingly or unknowingly, triggered a need to define failure.
Exactly.
Right? Shravan, I don't know
Yeah.
if that was intent.
No,
So, I look at it and say, I wouldn't even call it failure. I call it happiness. So that's when, yeah, Shri, you're right. I think it's worthwhile opening the conversation. Never
I'm only
thought of
thinking,
it.
should I do it right now or let all the four of them share and then do it? I think I'll go with that option.
Okay. Yeah, the boss.
Yeah, that like he's triggered one. Let's hear all the four stories and then get into the definition. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, one suggestion: whosoever can open their video, please do that, because these are all human journeys. Human journeys are incomplete without looking at each other. So if your bandwidth doesn't matter, if you're not combed your hair, doesn't matter. You're going around a monkey cap. It's okay. So, but it's important that we look at each other, because these are a human being conversation, and human beings cannot be images and logos. So
Oh,
please.
nice. Vinay is with a gang. So nice to see now.
Oh man,
See?
okay. Otherwise,
Ma'am, I
please.
went to hostel today.
Madhu.
Hello, Divya. Good to
And
see you.
Chandan.
Nivi,
So
good to
this
see
is
you.
Hello,
Chandan.
Vivek, good to see you.
Hello, sir.
Who said sir? Oh my
And
God.
it is fine.
Out of everything.
Okay.
They know
Asuna,
your year of
good to
birth,
see you.
so they're calling you sir.
Oh, okay.
So okay, so next is who's gonna go next? You all know your order. So
Nivi. Where are
yeah.
you?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Ayan Garu. Thank you, Srividya, ma'am. That was a beautiful hosting. Thank you, Shravan sir, for sharing your story. So, for me, the most important and difficult part of our lives is not a failure, but dealing with a failure. So, failure is not always about falling. Failure is about winning too. Winning courage to face anything in this world, and winning confidence to stand for everything in this world. So this kind of thing will get like we will experience when we face failures. So I would like to share my failure stories, which I want to compile and want you people to get the context of my life at the end. So the first failure that I have gone through is failed as a good child. Yes, you believed it or not, because of me and my immaturity faults that I have gone through in my 10th standard, my parents suffered. Yet they didn't judge me because they knew I never do anything wrong on my side. But this scenario like totally got misunderstood by one situation that has happened and the way that situation got portrayed in the society, which is like even more worst thing, which has made me feel bad about myself and made my parents too to be in that helpless situation. Whenever I think about it, I just get regret for being in that situation. But I know the only thing I can do is just accepting that situation and moving on at the end. So the only thing I thought of doing is like becoming more and more careful with the people and with the situations. And that is how I feel like I have failed as being a good child at that moment. And I know I won't repeat that again. And and I just got I also felt like I just got succeeded at understanding my parents at the next level too, and I'm really proud of my first failure. So that was my first failure, and my second failure, which I think, I mean, all of us also have, most of us, not all of us, like not getting into an IIT or NIT. I think like it's common for most of us, most of our teenagers. But the most difficult failure for me in that phase of life is neglecting and not being dedicated to reach my goals. So that was my most hurting failure, which has made me feel very sad and have made me to be in that regret zone for a year. Later on, I realized that if we hold on to the grudges, if we hold on to the regrets, we never grow. And if we accept it, then we will grow fastly. So I started accepting the situations and the things just the way it is. And also, I sometimes feel like I do have many failures, not every time, but like where I failed to be a good student, good friend, and a good sister. And but all over it, I believe that we are not perfect at everything we do, and it's okay to fail as we are. And there is nothing right or wrong in this world, and good or bad in this world. It's all about how we fail and how we live our life after our failures, and not about how we fail and how we live with our sufferings. Failures actually made me stronger and the better person of who I am now. And I'm really grateful for all my failures. So, this is my story. Thank you.
Oh my
Thank
God, that's
you.
awesome. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for sharing so well articulated also, and there's multiple and interesting to see how each one views failure as what, very interesting. So I'm going to hold on to my eagerness to explore further and let the other two talk. So let's all hold on to our own eagerness. This is beautiful. Thank you so much, Nivi, for sharing and bringing different perspective.
Absolutely. That's amazing.
Beautiful. Yeah, let's hold on to our
Dipti, all
curiosity and
yours,
eagerness.
Dipti.
Thank you, Garu. Thank you, Srividya, ma'am. Yeah, we heard two stories like from Nivi and from Shravan sir. And my thing is like completely different from theirs. I can say that. It's not a failure story, but the people around me treated me as failure, actually. So this is a common thing which we all see in our daily things. Like, yeah, so the fact here of my story is that yeah, I failed in one subject of my first semester. Yeah, so out of 4, yeah, yes, ma'am.
High five.
Okay. Yeah, the other thing which I want to like make clear is that out of 3 subjects, 2 grades were outstanding, and the third thing is fail. Okay, like according to the situation, I may, like, it's not compulsory that the third subject should be also outstanding, but the most probable case is that I should not fail in that subject. It may be low grade, but I should not fail. So what were my emotions like when I saw this? Uh, I came through many different types of emotions through this journey. Like throughout the journey, I'll say the journey too now. Like I'll describe the emotions when I describe the journey. What were my immediate reactions like when I saw it? First thing, I could not take that actually. Like no, nothing in my mind, but I could not take that. First, like got mad, irritated, and spoiled my entire mood. Though I know who I am, like what my capabilities are. Though I was like mad at that time because of seeing those results. So these are my emotions. Like first when I saw the result board or something like that. So the second, like immediately after getting these things, I just went and I tried to speak with the examination cell members. Like just went for saying my situation. Like I'll not get this. Please check if there is any mistake which I've went or not, something like that. So they did not care me actually. I directly went to the head of that examination cell. I thought someone will be listening to me, but that's not the case. No one were there to listen me, and even he did not care. So I thought my subject teacher, like in which subject I got that result, he would have listened. He will listen to me. I thought he will, but even that did not happen. So after that, I tried to speak with the other faculty member, and I don't know how, but yeah, he gave a positive, like he just listened to me actually. He just listened to me and he guided me to the further process like that. So after that, I went to the like further process of revaluation, and the emotions like at that time, the emotions were like, yeah, yeah, I've applied to the evaluation, but I'm not sure whether I'll get my result or not. I mean, the valid reason, like the valid marks for that paper. So that was my tension, and the other thing was like, I don't know whether how many days it will take. I was informed that it will be taking around 1 month or so. So that was the thing happened. Yeah. So my actions, like I applied for the evaluation and I got them back, and the result is like 9 points for 10. I don't know how they gave a failure, but it was a mistake. But so I'm not a failure. Like it is not my failure story, but the people around me treated me as failure. So like what were my reflections on this situation? So first, like I've expected that someone will be listening to me, either the college faculty or anyone from examination cell. But at that point of time, like when the situation had happened, but when the time passed, I've just I don't know, like I got this feeling that we should be strong. Like all the people around us are not same. We don't know who will react at what point of time, how they'll react for the same situation. If we are strong, no one can touch us, like no one can hurt us or no one can change our things, which is in our hands. So after that, the biggest realization I can say, that making ourselves stronger than expecting from others, like how they should be reacting. So these are my reactions. Like yeah, other thing I want to share is that I don't know, like though I know that was not my fault, I was sad first thing. And my team helped me, were like they were with me. Just being with me is more than enough, I can say. And I can say the other, like this is the same happened with the other girl too, from our college. And she was in the bit worry, or like she's in the tension, she worried a lot. But even though I worried, it was for very less span of time because my team was with me. And I hope like this is just very small situation, and I hope like with this transition programs we'll deal with the situations very stronger, like not only this but any other situation too. Yeah, I'm done with the story. Thank you.
Shrey, it's my turn, but it's interesting. One where I disagreed that it's a failure, one where it's a perception of others that you're a failure, third one who felt a set of failures.
Yeah. Exactly.
Uh,
I just made some of those notes, very interesting perspective as they narrate naturally. I'm able to see so many different perspective to this.
yes.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm going to hold on to my eagerness
Yeah.
to
Uh,
take it forward. Yes, Anne, go ahead and
yeah.
share
My
as
my
yeah,
it was a pretty bad failure fairly early in my life.
put your screen a little down so we can see you more
Put
of
my
you than the other
screen
thing.
and the camera.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that
Ha.
better?
Yeah, better.
Yeah. If I move forward anymore, I'll be inside the camera.
No, this is good.
Uh, pretty tough ones and a bad failure. I must have been fairly few years elder than you are. I'm talking about 1986. I was 26, so maybe perhaps 4 years older than you. Was on a high because I was a good student. I was a university gold medalist. I was on top of everything that I did. Uh, those days, if you top in the university, IISc gives you a walk into very prestigious course, the School of Automation, not cybernetics. Then I made it to IIM. Had a campus offer, highest paying campus offer from telco. I was on that high. Then I went to IIM, did pretty well there. I took up a job in Hyderabad. A year and a half into it, I met a senior of mine from IIM, and then at the end of this conversation, we decided to set up a small scale industry. Okay. There was a lot of conversation. Okay. 85, I just got married. Less than a year since I got married. Did not have any financial backing. I did not come from a family with a bank balance. Okay. The absence of a balance was the bank balance. Then we thought through. I remember, there was my cousin, elderly cousin, he was here, dad, me. We all sat. So finally, they were a little hesitant. They said, "Do you trust the guy you're partnering with?" etc. I said, "Listen, I'm going in. I'm not sure if it's going to work out. The only safety net I had was I had a good academic background. I'm sure if a reset happens, uh, I'll go back, look for a job again, and start." Looking back, that was a very uh, very desultory, very simplistic view of what world would be like. We went in, that whole thing blew up in exactly 18 months. Okay. I realized I partnered with somebody I couldn't trust. You remember one of the themes we were talking about was, the deceit and dishonesty. I received it full time. I received it on a via gigabit pipe. It did not work out. It blew up. Uh, had zero money. Too proud to ask parents for a lot of money. It's not that they had a lot of money that they could throw. On top of that, remember, I just got married. In fact, Vimla was in the final year of our graduation, and she finished that and just came over. We took up a house in Sanjeev Reddy Nagar, and I think the first month that she came over, I was in such a financial mess. I could only pay the rent in 3 or 4 installments. So, the landlord would get very sarcastic. We could only buy a day's provisions at a time. It was not easy. It was not easy. Your ego takes a thrashing. You said, "Look, hey, I'm supposed to be so good. What the hell is happening?" And then what I did not factor in was the emotional turmoil. He just got married. She comes from a much better off family than we. It was a pampered child. The 5 children. She was younger of the daughters. Papa's girl. Much later, when we spoke, she said, "Look, there are things. She likes Goa. she would hesitate, say, hey, look, do I buy guava or do I buy today's veggies kind of a thing. It was a pretty nasty period. So August 87, I finally took a call saying, look, this is not going to work out. I exited from that industry, the small scale industry. I came out. And then by then, fortunately, Providence would have it. Dad was in railways. He got transferred. He was in Hyderabad. We were in Kukatpalli. So we actually moved in with them. We had to move in. So your food and shelter are taken care of, right? So two things less to worry about. And then I went to IIM campus, went to the placement, I remember exactly 26 addresses, came and posted my CVs. And those are the days where you still had to write, sign, and put in my mail. Long story short, by December, I actually got a good job in Bangalore in TVS Electronics. As a humor, black humor, dark humor would have it, they were actually looking for somebody who was a mechanical engineer, who was an MBA, and who understood plastics. Our small scale industry was into specialty plastics. So I was really good with plastics. And the HR guy, when I called him, he was laughing, saying, what kind of a combination are you? Because I told the project that they just started a project that this thing is not possible. I come back, your CV is lying on my table. So a mechanical engineer, an MBA who knew specialty plastics, he said, look, you're crazy. Just come over. As the shit luck would have it, you remember my parents just relocated. My mom was having a bit of a problem in her throat. So I actually took her to a doctor. We realized that she was in a pretty advanced stage of a thyroid cancer that went undetected. I'm the only son. The only reason I did not go to US was I said, look, I want to be there with my parents in the final years. I said, look, well, I didn't say that. I said, look, I did not want to be away when I lost my parents. I wanted to be with them, right? Now, I had to move to Bangalore to resume my career, right? It just blew up. So it was a difficult patch. Mom passed away in 91. I was in an emotional mess because the burden of guilt was so heavy. From Bangalore, I used to travel every weekend, be with mom. Friday night, take a bus, Sunday night, take a bus, go back. Then, Vimla and I talk about it often now. We realized that through the tough times, I don't think we ever got sad or bitter. Disappointed, yes. Then I realized that I was also being an idiot getting into a very complicated industry with no experience, either financial management experience or a managing a tool room kind of experience or a understanding people experience. I actually partnered with a very, very dishonest guy. Him and the bank, they ganged up and siphoned money out. And so there's nothing like going into depression. Or I said, look, I think when you look back, the recollections that come to mind is one, it was a blowout. It was a comprehensive mess. Okay. Why would anybody do that is what I would say if someone told me that story. But then the 2 or 3 things they kept us through. One is, I think I married an unbelievable woman. Okay, coming from where she was, where we had just enough, on a daily cash flow basis, we would buy veggies each day, kind of a thing. It was an amazing support. So the choices that you make when we talk about marriage as a transition theme, we'll talk about it. Second was something my dad used to say all the time. He says it happens for a reason. It all happens for a reason, Ra. Induko avutundanta. So I think that pulled through. Then I realized that the piece that added plastics to my mechanical engineering MBA was what set in motion a career that over the next 30 years went stellar. I mean, I'm very, very proud of where the career went. Was professionally very successful, career is very successful, had teams, my teams still reach out to me. But then it all started, as I say, rocket takes off with an explosion, right? A blowout, you need a blow up for you to. So I think, well, I'll talk about more, I think, when we get into the our discussion. It was nasty while it lasted. But I think there are a few things that, that made it possible to go through that without cracking, without getting low, without feeling like a failure and bouncing back. And then when I look back, I think a lot of lessons to take away from that. After that, it was very easy to look at failure. It was a failure. Others didn't have to say it. I would say it because I messed up in so many different ways. It could only have been a failure. There's no way it could have succeeded, that my experiment, right? So that's the thing, Sri. That was my failure story.
Thank you so much for sharing.
You made us emotional.
Yes.
I feel emotional every time I think about it. Okay.
And it's multiple emotions. So just tell us again, what were those different emotions you experienced today as you were sharing? Let's start with you.
I'll tell you
just name those.
Just name those. There was a enormous amount of gratitude. I don't know. My parents was there. Mom will not have intellectual conversation, but she gets it. She knows what I'm going through. Okay. She knew that my pride, ego were being run over by a train day in and day out. She understood. Gratitude because I think Vimla knew exactly what I was going through. We don't have to say things, right? Enormous amount of gratitude. Okay.
I think the gratitude comes later, Ian. I want you to step back because I know you're talking a lot about gratitude now. Even back then, maybe you had, but
that time, no. I thought of gratitude later. That time, a lot of guilt. Guilt.
I want you to say the emotions, what you experienced during that time, because gratitude is for a forethought, right?
Enormous amount of guilt, enormous amount of regret. I said, look, how could I be so dumb? I said, look, I have a degree, I can go back to a job, but why didn't I think? Yeah.
No, this is intellectual. I wanted you to take back to the emotions. What are the emotions?
I would say an enormous amount of guilt and regret.
Explain why you felt so, but I just want you to name the feelings.
Guilt, enormous amount of guilt and regret.
Was there a fear?
Not fear. I think I knew I would bounce out of it.
That's okay. There was no fear. Guilt was your predominant.
Guilt was enormous.
Feeling.
Okay? Guilt and regret.
Yeah, guilt and regret. Shravan, what were your, what are your feelings? Because yours is a fresh, current, ongoing failure story, if I can call it. What are the feelings you experience through this journey of failure? So-called journey of failure.
Yeah, like you said, it's like, everyday thing, right? Mine. So even though knowing that I would like to do this, I want to do it, I don't do it, it irritates me. It feels like, I tell all these young people, be disciplined, do this. I am not doing it. And how can I, say those things again? So there is this, so that is the big thing for me is if I'm not doing it, how can I tell them to do it? And still I tell them to do it.
So in a way, there's some amount of guilt.
Yeah, definitely. Almost every day when I'm talking to them, I feel like there is a guilt in me.
Thank you. Nivi, where are you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. What are the feelings you experienced during that period?
Actually, the thing here is negativity, ma'am. I feel that this negativity which has happened to me at that moment has got a huge impact on me. I mean, I just felt like there are no supporting people. Instead, they just make us to always fall down and just always put us down.
So you
And that,
felt lonely. You felt
yeah, I
lonely.
felt very lonely. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing I felt, ma'am. Yeah.
What other feelings?
Felt lonely and sad.
Sad.
Uh,
Okay.
Anxiety. I just went into that anxiety mode. I just
Anxious.
got many fears, insecurities.
See, wow. And was there a helplessness?
Yeah, some at moments, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Deepti.
Ma'am, I had like different types of emotions, I can say.
Yeah, it'll be normally a roller coaster ride of emotions.
Yes.
Go
Like
ahead.
sad,
Sad.
guilty, and I was fair also. And I can say uh, many. I don't know.
Okay. Yes. Um, Vimikta will come back to you. Just give us a minute. We'll come back to you. I know one more person also had, Swapna has raised her hand. We've noted down. We'll come back to you. It's definitely discussion. I want all of you to participate, but just give us a bit of time. I think it's so important we learn to identify the emotions, feelings attached to it. It may sound like, why is it? It's very easy we intellectualize, because in somebody, I mean, more than that, I observed we were trying to justify it. Why the failure? And that comes from the emotions, what we feel. I don't know, one of you were not intentionally, but trying to justify or reason out, why did I fail? you know and or trying to camouflage it in some way. I don't know if you understand what do I mean by camouflage. All of you understand, because I know it's a little not very common English word. If any of you don't understand, ask me, I'll explain. But if you all understand, fair enough. So we try and camouflage with something else, or we try and justify. And why do we do that? Because of the associated emotions. Yes, Tirupati. Camouflage is Telugu. I don't know what to say in Telugu, but let me explain it in simple words. That I try and hide it with something else, or I cover it up. Not hide it, but I cover it up with something. Let's say, I don't want to show this, so I put this here, so that I'm trying to cover it something. The reality, you want to cover it up with something else, is what we have. I said it in simple words? Am I right, in or Shravan? The camouflaging, right? You cover it up. So
Absolutely.
I mean, if I can be very honest with a right example, that's what Deepti was trying to do it. If she said, I got in the other subjects high, but this was a fail. Yeah, that comes from the emotions and the non-acceptance of what has happened. It's very human, very natural. I'm only using as an example of the situation, because right now here, so it's important. Yeah, the discussing military. So okay, where did that come? Military people wear the military dress, the military cap, military dress. Why do they wear something which is very similar to leaves and the trees, so that when they are midst of the trees, they are not identified separately. They get kind of camouflage. People can get confused, is it a person or a tree? That's why they wear that kind of clothes. That's where it comes. Thank you for reminding me to share that example. That's where the camouflage comes in. So why am I saying this word failure primarily triggers a lot of emotions than anything else? Let's be very honest. It is triggers a lot of emotions which can affect us. How does it affect? Why does it affect? Yes, we will discuss all that. Anyway, we have time for good amount of time for discussion. It's already 8 o'clock. We have another half an hour. That's good enough. Another 10 to 15 minutes of discussion, and then I'll try and summarize it also, and also we have to tell you what next, etc. Very interesting. Some of the things I observed with all the stories shared, I will park it with me. I know I'm like, you want to hear? No, I'm not going to share it right now. Let me hear from Swapna and Vivikta. What do you want to share? You can go ahead and share whatever your observations, all of you, with the stories you have heard. Keep in mind 2-3 things. One is, what does failure mean to you? I don't want to say definition of a failure. That is that's the dictionary definition. No, because the failure or even a success, lot of words we use day in and day out, but we never make attempt to define it for us. We use this success, failure day in and day out, but what exactly it means to you or it means to me, that's where I think one of you made a statement. For me, it was not a failure, but others perceived it as a failure. See, the whole perception of failure was very different. Something else also came up: real failure versus perceived failure. That's something I want all of us to keep in mind. Anyway, let me pause here, but I want
Shri,
all
two people put their hand up. Maybe they want to
that's
speak.
what I'll start. Swapna and Vivikta.
Yeah.
Swapna and Vivikta, I'll start with them, and then others can, but I'm just giving you guidelines of, I want you to think about, we'll go with the order of hands which are going up. I want you to think of what does failure or success.
No, not that. I think let's not ask for answer. If they wanted to say something and put their hand up.
Yeah, but I want everyone to keep thinking in the background is what I said. Okay, I'm not expecting these people who raised hand to answer my question, but I want all of us to keep thinking about it. Absolutely. In the background, let it run, saying, what does failure mean to me? Absolutely. Not to others. Not the standard definition, but to me, what does it mean? Okay, just keep that question in the mind. Swapna, go ahead, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for giving this opportunity.
Show your face, Swapna.
Swapna, can we see you, please?
See, both there of us. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, when I hear the word failure, actually, frankly, I don't know exact meaning of failure, because I never consider myself as a failure. And the three things, and they are like three things when I feel like failure, it's not created by myself. Like I accepted by others. First thing is, when I in my 10th standard, I am a good student at maths. So can I express in Telugu? It is very comfortable.
Sure, please
do.
Yes,
I'll understand, don't worry.
Yes, ma'am. నేను 10th class లో ఉన్నప్పుడు ఐఎమ్ ఏ గుడ్ స్టూడెంట్ అనమాట. 10th లో మ్యాథ్స్ లో 10 పాయింట్స్ వస్తాయని సార్ ముందే గెస్ అనమాట. లైక్ నేనేం చేసా, నాకు కూడా అన్ని లాస్ట్ ఫైనల్ ఎగ్జామ్స్ వరకు చాలా టెస్ట్ కండక్ట్ చేస్తారు కదా, అన్ని టెస్ట్ లో కూడా 10 పాయింట్స్ లా వచ్చాయి. సో నేను లాస్ట్ మ్యాథ్స్ ఎగ్జామ్ రోజే 2 days వచ్చాయి. ఐ జస్ట్ ఫుల్ నెగ్లెక్ట్ చేసిన, అసలు మ్యాథ్స్ ప్రాక్టీస్ కూడా చేయలేదు, జస్ట్ ఇట్లా చూసుకుంటా వెళ్ళిపోయాను. ఐ గాట్ 9 పాయింట్స్ వచ్చాయి 10 కి. సార్ నాతో మాట్లాడడమే మానేశారు. లైక్ హోల్ క్లాస్ కూడా 10 పాయింట్స్ వస్తాయని అనుకున్నారు సార్, నీకు 9 పాయింట్స్ వచ్చాయని. దే ఆర్ లైక్ అలా అనేసరికి నేను ఛాలెంజ్ అనమాట. నేను ఇంటర్ ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్ లో ఎన్ని మార్క్స్ అసలు నాకు సబ్జెక్ట్ కి ఎన్ని సబ్జెక్ట్స్ ఉంటాయో కూడా తెలియదు, ఆ సబ్జెక్ట్స్ లో ఎన్ని మార్క్స్ వస్తాయో కూడా తెలియదు. మ్యాథ్స్ ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్ లో 2 మ్యాథ్స్ ఏ అండ్ మ్యాథ్స్ బి 150 మార్క్స్ ఉంటాయి. ఆ 150 మార్క్స్ కి 150 మార్క్స్ తెచ్చుకొని వచ్చి మ్యాథ్స్ సార్ తోటి మాట్లాడతా అని వాళ్ళ అందరితో ఛాలెంజ్ చేసి ఇంటర్ ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్ లో 150 మార్క్స్ తెచ్చుకొని వచ్చి మ్యాథ్స్ సార్ తోటి మాట్లాడా. నేను అది కన్సిడర్ చేసుకోలేదు ఫెయిల్యూర్ అని. లైక్ కొన్నిసార్లు వేరే వాళ్ళ వల్ల మనం కన్సిడర్ చేసుకుంటాం, అండ్ దానివల్ల మనకు కూడా హెల్ప్ఫుల్ అవుతుంది. అండ్ ద సెకండ్ థింగ్, సేమ్ ఇంటర్మీడియట్, లైక్ నేను ఐఎమ్ వెరీ ఫియర్ టు టాక్ ఇన్ ఫ్రంట్ ఆఫ్ పీపుల్.
మా సెక్రటరీ సార్ని ఒకసారి కాలేజ్కి వచ్చినప్పుడు మిస్ అయ్యానని సార్ దగ్గరికి ఐ మీన్ సార్ స్టేట్ లెవెల్ కాంపిటీషన్ కి విజిట్ చేస్తారు. సో ఐ నీడ్ టు గో టిల్ స్టేట్ లెవెల్ కాంపిటీషన్ అండ్ ఐ వాంట్ టు మీట్ సెక్రటరీ సార్ అనే గోల్ ఐ మీన్ అది పెట్టుకొని ఐ వాంట్ కొన్ని కాంపిటీషన్స్ ఎలక్యూషన్, డిబేట్ అండ్ ఎస్సే రైటింగ్. ఐఎమ్ బ్యాడ్ ఎట్ ఎస్సే రైటింగ్ అండ్ డిబేట్ అండ్ ఎలక్యూషన్ పార్టిసిపేట్ చేశాను. ఫస్ట్ ఎలక్యూషన్ స్పీచ్ ఇచ్చేటప్పుడు చాలా మంది నవ్వుకున్నారు అండ్ ఐఎమ్ వెరీ డిప్రెస్డ్ అండ్ కొన్ని డిప్రెస్ అయ్యా కానీ కొన్ని కాదు, చాలా నేర్చుకున్నా. ఎట్లా మాట్లాడాలి, వాళ్ళు మన వైపు ఎలా వింటారు, ఎలా ఇంట్రెస్ట్ చూపిస్తారు, ఇలా కొన్ని నేర్చుకున్నా ఆ ఫస్ట్ స్పీచ్ వల్ల. అండ్ అది కూడా నేను ఫెయిల్యూర్ గా కన్సిడర్ చేసుకోలేదు. బట్ నా చుట్టుపక్కల ఉన్న వాళ్ళు దే కన్సిడర్ హ్యాజ్ ఎ ఫెయిల్యూర్. నువ్వు మాట్లాడతా అని వెళ్ళావు కదా, ఏమైంది, ఇలా ఎందుకు మాట్లాడావు అన్నట్టుగా. బట్ నేను ఫెయిల్యూర్ గా కన్సిడర్ చేసుకోలేదు. మళ్ళీ నేను మాట్లాడి చూపిస్తా అని ఐ జస్ట్ స్టార్ట్ టాకింగ్ ఇన్ ఫ్రంట్ ఆఫ్ పీపుల్ and I selected in college and regional level, finally state level, and I met our secretary. These are my not failures. Thank you.
Amazing. Okay.
Thank you for sharing, Swapna, your own story, and I can see that passion and the pride in you as you share. I think that's what is evident here. The passion and wonderful, amazing. Thank you for sharing. I will again hold on to my eagerness to comment, but let's go to Vivikta.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you everyone who shared their failure stories. So at that point of time I raised hand to tell about the emotions which Deepthi felt, because I was beside her. Every time she used to think about that failure.
Yes, go ahead and name those feelings. It's interesting. Go ahead and name what you thought Deepthi was feeling.
She was sad, first thing. She was very much unhappy with whatever she got in that. I mean, the results were displayed on the board, ma'am. Like they were written like people who passed and people who failed, and like she saw her roll number and subject in which she failed. So I was shocked. I was not able to take it in. Then the immediate thought was to look after Deepthi, because I know how I guessed it, how she would react. And that's when I realized that she was shocked. She was very much unhappy. She was angry. She was just irritated, frustrated, everything. That were her initial reactions. And then when we went to the exam cell department people, and when we spoke to them, the reaction which we got from them made Deepthi even more emotional, even more angry. It just went on, and she was just accepting it externally, but internally she couldn't take it. She was just fighting through that thing. Like, okay, this cannot happen to me. How did this happen? Those were her inner emotions, but externally she was like, I mean, we understand this with the way the person reacts, right? She was just like, okay, this has happened. Oh, I failed. That was like that sarcastic reaction, So those were those things. And as days passed on, maybe slightly she started accepting it, but not completely. And now also, somewhere or the other, I feel that though we got the result, somewhere or the other, I just feel that she couldn't take it at that point of time, and it's completely fine. It's okay. She was angry after few days. If we talk about talk about her feelings, a week after that incident, She was very angry. Again, like I know this happens with everyone, and that's what happened with Deepthi, that she was not able to think like a normal person, because again she had that cover all uh, all around her and her thinking. She was not able to see that maybe a perspective which that positive thing. She did not had that, and and Deepthi, I must say, but I mean the way she reacted, and she like stood strong for herself and was able to take action the very next day this incident happened, was again really amazing. Maybe I wouldn't have done that personally, because I would I think I don't have that courage, or I will not have that courage. Maybe I don't know.
You don't know. Yeah,
I
that's
don't
okay.
know.
You don't know is fine. Perfectly.
Yes.
Perfectly fine. We don't know how we will react unless we experience it.
Yes,
Fair.
ma'am.
Thank you, Vivikta, for sharing your observations of your own close person going through so-called failure. You know, I'll use the word so-called, quote
Yes.
unquote, because we are yet to define what exactly is that. And you did use the word she kind of said or expressed in different way that I am a failure.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Anyone remembers my quote on I am a failure by any chance? Any of you remember who attended my intro session in mentors group? Let's see if anyone remembers. Some of you were there when I introduced myself.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I remember your inter failure story, then how you got into MBA. Was that you? That's
No, not the story, my quote, not the story, but I do share a quote about failure, my own quote about failure. I did share.
Is it like I
getting it, I remember.
failed, but I'm not a failure?
Yes. I might have failed in an event, exam
Yeah.
situation, but I'm not a failure. I mean, I know I did share about my failure story then, so today I'm not going to share that. But yes, I think that is very powerful message for all of us to keep remembering it, often remind ourselves that yes, that's the, we might fail because is it a real failure, perception, whatever. Sometimes it could be a fact based, sometimes it could be a perceived, real. We'll discuss that. Let me go to Lidvija. Lidvija.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, I am.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Or anything like that, but I want to share an incident which gave me
we can't hear you clearly, Lidvija. Lidvija, you're not very clear. Maybe you need to go off the video. If required, please do that. If that can help us hear you better. Are you talking?
No. Do you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Oh yes, much better.
Better.
Yeah, thank you. Like, I don't want to share any story or anything, but I want to share a situation where I felt I which gave me a chance to think about failures a little more.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
I was talking to Sidhu. And he was like, I asked about all the basic things, like how are you and all the things. And the very first question he asked me was, what are your failures this week? And I was like, and his reaction was like, what? Don't you have any failures this week? That means you are doing nothing.
That's an interesting perspective.
Yes. I was like, oh my God, that's very true. You know, when you try something, there is a very less probability that you get success in the very first step. If you do many things, at least you failed at least 90 times, 90% of it if you don't have any failures, that means you didn't do anything in that way. So
Very good, very good. Thank you.
It is important to be a failure, not a failure. To be failed, not a failure.
Thank you, Lidvija. Very, very important. Look
Wonderful.
at that perspective. Very impressive.
Amazing.
Thank you. Again, we need to hold on to all
Thanks
our
to Sidhu.
goodness and go to Kranti Kumar. Okay, Sahiti, go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Hello, everyone. So the failure which I faced recently, I mean, nothing like failure, but just trying to express is I am a kind of person who like to motivate others and who like to express, but I always feel so hesitated to speak what I actually feel inside. So recently I joined in a group and I am like I have to definitely express what I feel, but I am unable to even raise my hand from few days, and today is the first time I raised my hand because from past days I want to express. Actually, I have content, but the courage is the one which is missing. And today in our college, they conducted in our class they conducted a debate on Indian society and politics. So the same thing happened there. Like I have a lot of content, but there is I am unable to express it. I think the courage was missed, and I hope you understand how you feel when you like something to do, but that inside there is one Sahiti which is always who is always letting me do that, but that hesitation is stopping me from expressing myself to this world. And after that incident I feel so guilt and regret on myself that I know but I did not make it happen. I am not like me, but now when I am expressing this in front of all of you, I am happy and satisfied that yes, at least I did now, and this call has taken my life at right time and today at right situation. Thank you, ma'am.
Sahiti, show your face, please. Want to see your beautiful face, please. Yes.
Sahiti, that was fantastic.
Thank
so
you.
glad you spoke today. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. And you're triggering a lot of thoughts for me. And I'll again hold on to that. I've noted down what Sahiti is triggered. And Vinay is laughing. Yes, I can see.
I could see myself in Sahiti.
Exactly. Vinay is reliving his own fears. Yeah, Tarun is another hand which went up. Tarun, go ahead, please.
హలో ఎవ్రీవన్, లైక్ ఐ వాంట్ టు షేర్ ఇన్ తెలుగు. ఏంటంటే రీసెంట్గా 2 days బ్యాక్ మా కాలేజ్లో మా యూనివర్సిటీలో హెచ్ఓడితో మాట్లాడి లైక్ అల్యూమినై కాంటాక్ట్స్ అనేది తీసుకొని గ్యాదర్ చేసి మంచిగా వెళ్దాం అనుకుంటున్నాం. అయితే అది అనుకున్నట్టు కాలేదు. అంటే ప్రతిదీ డెసిషన్ మేకింగ్ దగ్గర సార్ దగ్గర ఆగుతుంది. లైక్ సార్ నాకు అందుబాటులో లేకపోవటము, లేదంటే కొన్నిసార్లు నేను డెసిషన్ తొందరగా తీసుకోవాల్సి వస్తుంది. ఎందుకంటే ఇట్ మైట్ అంటే అవి కనెక్షన్ లాస్ట్ అవుతుందేమో అన్న భయంతో ఒక్కొక్కసారి నేను తీసుకోవాల్సి వస్తుంది డెసిషన్స్. అలాంటి టైంలో తీసుకున్న టైంలో లైక్ నాకు తిట్లు పడ్డాయి చాలా. అంటే యాజ్ ఏ టీమ్గా ఉన్నా కూడా లైక్ ఇక్కడ టీమ్ డెసిషన్ తీసుకోకుండా అక్కడ నేను తీసుకోవాలి, డెసిషన్ తీసుకోకపోతే మళ్ళీ ఇబ్బంది అవుతుంది అన్న ఉద్దేశంతో నేను తీసుకొని ముందు లీడుండి తీసుకొని చేసేసాను అనమాట. అది మా హెచ్ఓడి ఇలా తిట్టారు. లైక్ నిన్నంతా నాకు బాగా బాధ అనిపించింది. అసలుకి నేను మరీ అంత తప్పు చేశానా, ఇది నేను నా కోసం కాకుండా నాకు ఇంతమంది కనెక్షన్స్ ఉండి ఇంత మంచి ఫ్రెండ్షిప్స్ ఉండి నేను నా కోసం అని కాకుండా మన కోసం అని చూసినప్పుడు నాకెందుకు ఇంత నష్టం జరిగింది అక్కడ, ఎందుకని బాగా అంటే అక్కడ సపోర్ట్ సిస్టమ్ సరిగ్గా లేదు. వేరే కమింగ్ టు ఇప్పుడు నేను శ్రవణ్ సార్తో అదంతా మాట్లాడి నైట్ ఇదంతా ధైర్యంగా ఇట్లా సార్ ఇది జరిగింది సార్, అది జరిగింది సార్, ఎట్లా సార్, లైక్ అస్సలు తట్టుకోలేకపోతున్నా సార్, నాకు ఆయన అస్సలు నచ్చట్లేదు, ఏం చేయాలో అర్థం కావట్లేదు, నేను కంటిన్యూ కావాలనుకోవట్లేదు సార్ అందులో నుంచి ఆ గ్రూప్ లో నుంచి అని చెప్తే లైక్ శ్రవణ్ సార్ నాకు నిన్న నైట్ నుంచి ఇవాళ మార్నింగ్ సార్తో మీట్ అయిపోయేదాకా నాకు తోడుగుండి లైక్ ఎంత ఎనర్జీ ఇచ్చారంటే సార్ నేను ధైర్యంగా చెప్పగలిగా, నేను మీ వల్ల నేను బాధపడగలిగాను సార్. ఎస్టర్డే హెచ్ఓడితో ఇట్లా ధైర్యంగా చెప్పేసాం, మెసేజ్ పంపించేసాం అనమాట. ఇక సార్ ఏమన్నానని, కానీ సార్ సైలెంట్గా ఉన్నారు మ్యామ్. సడన్ గా నేను సార్ని కలవటానికి వెళ్ళినప్పుడు హెచ్ఓడి మస్తు సైలెంట్గా ఉండి ఆ బాబుకి ఇంట్రెస్ట్ లేదంట, ఓకే బాబు నువ్వు సరే వెళ్ళేసాయి, నా వల్ల ఎంత తప్పు జరిగిందా, ఓకే రైట్, ఇక్కడికైతే వదిలేసి అని అన్నారు. అప్పటిదాకా నేను సార్ని మీట్ అయ్యేటప్పుడు కంగారు పడ్డా, అమ్మ నన్ను ఏమైనా తిడతారేమో హెచ్ఓడి, అసలుకి నేను అనవసరంగా ఆయనతో పెట్టుకున్నానేమో అని అనిపించింది. కానీ శ్రవణ్ సార్ ఇచ్చిన ఎనర్జీ, శ్రవణ్ సార్ చెప్పిన ఆ మాటలు, ఆ కొద్దిసేపు లైక్ నాకు ఎట్లనో ధైర్యాన్ని ఇచ్చాయి. కానీ మళ్ళీ భయపడుతున్నా లోపల. ఎప్పుడైతే ఆయన నన్ను ఏమనలేదో సక్సెస్ఫుల్ గా నేను బయటకు వచ్చానో ఇక అప్పుడు అనిపించింది నేను తోపిసిల్ అబ్బా ఇప్పుడు సక్సెస్ఫుల్, మళ్ళీ నేను తరుణ్ బ్యాక్. అంటే ఇప్పటిదాకా ఏ ఫెయిల్యూర్ ని నేను అంత డీప్ గా తీసుకోలే, కానీ నిన్న జరిగిన ఇన్సిడెంట్ నాకు చాలా బాధ అనిపించింది. ఎందుకు ఇట్లా జరుగుతుంది, ప్రాపర్ సపోర్ట్ సిస్టమ్ ఎందుకు ఇవ్వట్లేదు అని చాలా బాధపడ్డా. లైక్ కానీ నిన్న శ్రవణ్ సార్ మళ్ళీ మాట్లాడిన తర్వాత అదంతా బాగా అంటే నాకు చాలా ఆనందంగా అనిపించింది. శ్రవణ్ సార్ లైక్ మీరు అన్నారు కదా తరుణ్ వీఆర్ ఆల్వేస్ దేర్ ఫర్ యూ అని, ఆ మాట చాలా నచ్చింది సార్. అండ్ నేను చాలా మందితో మాట్లాడేటప్పుడు కూడా నివి దగ్గర నుంచి నేర్చుకున్నా, నివి ఈజ్ ఆల్వేస్ దేర్ ఫర్ యూ అన్నట్టుగా లైక్ తరుణ్ ఈజ్ ఆల్వేస్ దేర్ ఫర్ యూ అనే మాటని ఇంకా అట్లా పెట్టుకొని లైక్ ముందుకి చాలా చాలా వెళ్ళాలని కోరుకుంటున్నా. ఎస్, థ్యాంక్ యూ శ్రవణ్ సార్, అండ్ థ్యాంక్ యూ మై డియర్ టీమ్, థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్. Yeah.
Excellent, Tarun. Thank you for sharing. And it's what I'm liking is how each one of us are so open to share what's happening. I think that's a huge, what do I say, positive sign in your growth. In the entire your life, I think this practice of openly sharing, I know it's already there in Thop family because it's a family everyone shares, but keep this going, friends. Please keep this going. It's an amazing attitude or trait or habit, whatever you want to call it. It's amazing. Keep it on. In the interest of time, I might have to now take this little forward. I know all of you have many stories to share and you're eager to share, and we are also eager to hear. Being a little pragmatic, I'm going to pause here for sharing stories. And now it's time to summarize. I have only 8 minutes. I should have had a little more time to summarize, but it's important we summarize. I think each story will bring some of the common traits which I have kind of noted down, and I'm sure Shravan and Ain can add to if I've missed something. But I want all of you to, let's take this not only to this call, during the call, but during maybe during the week in the group. We will continue this facilitation in the group as well, the WhatsApp group. This one question, please, I want all of you to think through and answer that. What does failure/success mean to me? If one of you can type it in the chat box, I will put it up in the group as well. I would like all of you to think through that and answer in the group. Is that okay, Ian? Because we don't have time now. So let them do it through that. So I'm not going to conclude this session right now, but during that we will continue. But some of the observations about failure, I want you all to think through that. Each of us feel my story is different.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just remember that we have next week, right? Next Wednesday to continue on the topic. If any of you felt you did not have an opportunity to speak, we're going to have a whole session where we're going to just talk and listen. Okay?
Yeah. that is where this think through these questions. But today is just, I'm
Absolutely.
going to leave it with just my observations today. And we will, next week is where we kind of take it to a little logical closure. Today, I'm not going to close this. I'm going to trigger a lot more things that, my story is different. Yes, each one of our story is definitely different, because each one of us situation is different and our context is different. This is something it's very important to remember. Each one, Shravan feels not exercising is a failure for A, and that is, are what big deal? Situation is different. And where is Shravan coming? Why does he believe it's a failure? He comes from, if I don't practice discipline, I can't teach my students. I have no right to tell them. For him, it is coming from his honesty value. You see that beautifully. It is his definition of or perception of failure of his situation is coming from his value system of being honest. So even the whole perception of life, a lot of things are influenced by our values. Remember that value drives us in so many ways, and Thop cell stands for its values. Now, I mean, I want you to see what is while you all follow the values, you give importance, but just to bring how it can impact, the values can impact in different situations. So today's Shravan's failure perception is coming from his value system. Shravan, isn't it amazing? I don't think he even realized it. He hadn't realized it.
I'll disagree with it on the next call.
Sure. Go ahead.
On the next week call. Today I want to listen to.
Okay.
I want to listen to the. Yeah.
Yes. So I mean that was my observation. Again, these are my observations than any conclusions. Okay. See, I'm trying to justify now.
Exactly. That I agree with.
Right. How the human mind works.
Exactly.
How it works. Another observation is, again, it comes from a lot of emotions, context. That context is very, very important. And also the failure, we can look at the failure as, is it a real failure or a perceived failure? Is it a fact-based failure or again a perception-based failure? They're all connected to each other. That's very important. There are certain, it's easy to measure the impact of failure, tangible. There could be some of the failures will have a tangible impact. For example, I just said I had failed in my 12th standard or second PUC. It had an impact at the tangible level that I lost a year. Okay, that's a tangible impact of a failure. Is it a fact-based? Yes. I mean, definition is fine. That it was a failure. I am not a failure is different, but it had. So we need to look at the fact-based and the impacts of failure, the consequences of it. That defines the how much do I value that failure. Depends on the impacts or the implications of that failure. Like Shravan exercising, maybe for him, the impact is that, okay, I won't be able, I'm not authentic when I tell my children, my students, I'll not be authentic. So it comes with a price. It comes with a price. That's some of my observations. Then I perceive as a failure, others look at it as a success, and others look at it as a failure, but I look at it as a success. So again, perception, it is very contextual and subjective. Sometimes some are fact-based, so which we can't deny it. And we will always have roller coaster of emotions, failure or success, anything. It's important. It's important. Yes, Chandrayaan is a failure or not is a definitely very, very huge, valid question. The series of emotions, what I have noted down, which accumulation of all of you, the four of you or others who added, including Vivikta, is sad, guilt, predominantly fear. I think that fear needs to be explored. Fear is one of the root emotion or the feeling which triggers a lot of other emotions. It's one of those fear is one of the really, really deep rooted emotion which manifests into other emotions. So be in touch with your fears. What exactly, we will discuss that in the next week. I'll keep it. I mean, one of you can remind me of that. And there is a shock, there is anger, loneliness, helplessness, anxious, because again, fear connected to fear, irritation, ego hurt, guilt, regret. Gratitude comes much later. At that moment, I don't think gratitude at that moment very rarely comes, because maybe for all of us now in this group, we practice a lot of gratitude. Even at that moment, maybe we can say, okay, itna hi hua hai instead of so much. That kind of gratitude, yes, we are probably at this stage, some of us, or some of you, some of us can practice it, but that won't be the first emotion. Let's be very honest. That's a second thought. It can't be a first primary thought, but second, the difference is how quickly can we move from this stage to that stage, which we will discuss in the next week. I think A and I will go with the even that image only next week and not today, because there's a lot more has to happen before I will want to use that in the conclusive phase of it rather than at this point of time.
Exactly. I agree with you.
8:31. So it's time to say thank you. I don't know if A and Shravan, anybody wants to add, but time is up. Thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed.
One quick closing comment. We dealt with the concept of failure all through our life, right? Today, I actually sat down and made notes. I never looked at it in a different way. We'll actually share next time. The physics, chemistry, and zoology and psychology of a concept of failure.
Yes.
I keep saying every time I come in this, we think we are coming to coach. I'm taking over so much learning. Exactly. I'm actually looking at. I'm not saying this to make you feel good, guys. I wouldn't. I told you. I promise I wouldn't bullshit. Some phenomenal thoughts that got triggered. I'll see how I can pull them together.
I have also kept some things not sharing
for the
today.
next conversation. I think conceptualizing the thought. I think I have one whole page of notes I'm taking away from this call.
One homework for all of you. We are good teachers. I have done a coaching conversations with a colleague of me called Constantine Papas from Australia. Both of us have done a coaching conversations, video recorded our coaching conversations, and we have done a series on beauty of failure. Okay, there are 4 or 5 episodes, if I'm right. Short, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, that kind of short episodes. I would it would be nice for all of you to watch and come back with your own observations. Lack of any other word, I will use observations, your own viewpoint, or whatever your takeaways or your feedback, anything. But it's an interesting. We have had beauty of failure conversation series. It would be good. I'll also go back and watch and come back. That's also my homework. It's been a year since I have done that, probably. So I'll come back with that. Let's do that homework. I have a lot of homeworks to give every week. But for this week, this is good.
Awesome.
It's there if somebody wants to know, it's there in my website. It's there in YouTube. It's there in my social media. I'm everywhere.
Thank you, everyone. I totally enjoyed it. Let's end the call for today, and we will meet again next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Thank you.